Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So good afternoon. Today we are going to learn new topic, that is malpractice and negligence in medical practice. In last lecture we have covered the definition and how the negligence is proved. So today we'll revise the definition and in a short time period and then proceed for the further concepts. So negligence in broad concept, it is defined as act of omission and act of commission. Negligence is a lack of reasonable care and skill on the part of a medical practitioner. If the word reasonable is very important, means he has to learn average skills as well as he must have the average knowledge about the subject. Too much expertise skill, the court, if it is there, it's well and good. But what the court and expects from a registered medical practitioner is the reasonable word is very important, reasonable care and skill. If there is lack of reasonable care and skill, it accounts for the medical negligence. Negligence in medical practice, the proper definition is medical negligence is defined as the omission to do something which a reasonable, competent medical man, guided upon prevailing standards of medical knowledge and practice and such other consideration which ordinarily regulate the conduct of medical man, would do, or doing something which such a competent and reasonable medical man would not do, leading to some harm or damage to the patient. So definition is too large. I will divide into three parts. The first part is the medical negligence is the act of omission. What act? Which a reasonable, competent medical man will do. So that is, and that reasonable act has not done by that medical practitioner. Second part is the act of commission, where the reasonable, competent man will not act or do that act, but this medical practitioner has done that act. So that is the act of commission. So due to act of omission and act of commission, what happens? There is, due to act of commission and act of omission, there is harm or damage to the patient, or in a severe condition, death of a patient can occur. So have you understood about the definition of the medical negligence in a three part? First part is the act of commission, second part is the act of omission, and the third, due to act of omission and commission, there is harm or damage to the patient, and in a severe cases, it is the death of a patient can occur. Is it clear? Clear the definition? Any doubt about the definition of medical negligence?
No, sir.
So types of medical negligence are the criminal malpractice, criminal negligence, and civil negligence. Criminal malpractice, that during the practice, the medical practitioner has done some criminal act, such as the criminal abortion, issuing wrong medical certificate, and that these acts can be penalized under some CRPC. So these are the criminal malpractice. And what is criminal negligence? Gross, careless act causing bodily harm or death to the patient. So in a criminal negligence, it is the severe type. So there is gross carelessness, and due to that gross carelessness, there is severe harm, or in extreme point, there is death of a patient. So that is known as a criminal negligence. And civil negligence is the negligence happen, but that damage can be compensated by giving the money. That is known as a civil negligence. So you have all learned there are two types of the court in India, civil court and criminal court. If the act is related, not so severe, then and can be compensated by giving the money, that can be dealt in a civil court. And in a criminal negligence, there is gross carelessness. And due to the gross carelessness, the severe damage to the patient occur, as well as death of a patient can occur. And that case can be filed in a criminal court. So that is criminal malpractice. In a criminal malpractice, the doctor does such act that can be punished under some CRPC. Second is the criminal negligence, and third is the civil negligence. So is it clear these three types? That is criminal malpractice, criminal negligence is the severe type, and in a civil negligence, it is of a mild type and can be compensated by giving the money to the patient. Again, the basic concept, court always presumes that doctor has acted according to his knowledge and skill. If any patient complains that doctor has done a negligence, then burden of a proof of a negligence always remain on a patient. So court always presumes that doctor is innocent, and burden of proof remains on a patient. There is one exception, that is res ipsa loquitur. We'll see in the next slide in a detail. So to prove the negligence, these three D's are important: duty bound, dereliction from duty, and damage to the patient. So all these three should be present. First and foremost, doctor should be duty bound. That there must be establishment of a doctor-patient relationship. When doctor is duty bound, after the establishment of a doctor-patient relationship, doctor has accepted his patient and he has started the treatment, and in between, due to some act, some harm to the patient occur, then and then only the doctor is held for that. So the first and foremost, doctor should be duty bound. And for the duty bound, there should be establishment of a doctor-patient relationship. And when doctor-patient relationship gets established, when a doctor is willing to or consented to give the treatment to the patient. There are exception in emergency case. In emergency case, the motto is to save the life of a patient. So in an emergency, doctor may be of any specialty, he has to give life-saving treatment to the patient, and afterwards he can refer that patient to the specialist or a tertiary center. But the foremost duty in an emergency condition is to save the patient life. In this condition, there is no establishment of a doctor-patient relationship. And the second is that doctor-patient relationship has been established, but afterwards there is some valid reason. With that valid reason, doctor has prior told to the patient that he is not going to treat the patient henceforth. He has given a notice or prior information to the patient that henceforth he is not going to give the treatment. So that is the second condition where doctor is not duty bound and there is no doctor-patient relationship. Is it clear about this first part? That is the duty bound. So
Yes,
duty bound, there should be establishment of a doctor-patient relationship. And when the doctor-patient relationship gets established, after doctor and patient both have consented. Second is the dereliction from the duty. So according to his knowledge and skill, doctor has to give a treatment for that disease or any sickness. he should not derelict from the duty. There should be, again I am repeating the word, the average knowledge and skill. So with that, doctor should give the treatment to the patient. If there he does not act to the according standard knowledge, skill, and according to the pro forma, then he has derelicted from the duty. With this, doctor is duty bound. There is dereliction from the duty. With these two D's, there is damage to the patient, and in a severe cases, death of a patient occurs. Then the negligence has. So to prove the negligence, these three D's must be there. Only the dereliction from the duty does not prove in a court the negligence, or only damage to the patient does not prove negligence in a court. To prove the negligence in a court, these three D's must be there. That doctor should be duty bound, there is dereliction from the duty, and due to all this dereliction from the duty, there is damage, and in a severe cases, there is severe damage, and in extreme cases, death of a patient occur. And then only the doctor is held for the negligence. So remember, court always presumes that doctor is innocent. Burden of proof of in a 99% remains on a patient, except that of res ipsa loquitur. And to prove the negligence, these three D's should be there: duty bound, dereliction from duty, and damage to the patient. This is my favorite question in Viva. I always ask, and in MHS also, MHS final examination, what are the three D's to prove the negligence? What is the definition of the negligence? Then what is res ipsa loquitur? So in MHS examination, many times the short note has came on a res ipsa loquitur, so make it thorough for a theory, as well as in Viva also we ask the student about res ipsa loquitur. Res ipsa loquitur, it means facts speak for themselves. It is the only one condition where doctor has to prove his innocence. Otherwise, in all negligent cases, the patient has to prove the doctor is negligent. But in a res ipsa loquitur, doctor has to prove his or her innocence. Example of this, the doctor writes prescription to take a medicine orally. That medicine must be applied externally, but in a prescription he has prescribed it as to take orally. So what happens? Due to orally intake, there is damage to the patient, and it is obvious that on a prescription pad, prescription paper, he has written that take that medicine orally. So there is no expert required to prove the negligence of the doctor. So the thing speaks for itself that the doctor is negligent. Another example, that in last lecture I have shown the video that if any instrument remain in abdomen after the surgery, then the doctor, and after the operation, patient complains pain in abdomen, X-ray or CT scan has been done, and on that it is revealed that some instrument or gauze is there inside the abdomen. That's why there is pain in. Then the thing speaks for itself. No need of any expert. The doctor is negligent. So that is the res ipsa loquitur. So what are the defense of the doctor against the negligence? Doctor is not duty bound, discharge his duties according to the standard medical knowledge. At that time, doctor advised that you should go for the further treatment of a specialist, but patient has not listened. Damage is not due to the doctor's act, but it is due to the third party. Patient has not followed all his advice due to reasonable error, because each treatment has some side effect. So it is the one of the side effect. It is not due to the lack of gross reasonable care and skill. Due to therapeutic misadventure, what is therapeutic misadventure? Therapeutic misadventure is that there are different drugs. Each drug has its side effect. One drug, if taken to the different person body responses to that drug differently. So it is one of the part of therapeutic misadventure. Therapeutic misadventure may short note come. In a therapeutic, there are three parts. Therapeutic misadventure due to the treatment, therapeutic misadventure due to the diagnostic procedure. For example, there is the biopsy of a liver is required, and in that there may danger of a bleeding. So there may that mishap may occur, but it's the risk. So there is the therapeutic misadventure of treatment, therapeutic misadventure of a diagnostic procedure, and the third therapeutic misadventure is that of an experiment. So if the experimentation of any clinical trial is there and the patient has been consented, in that there may happen some mishap, then it is not treated or considered as a negligence, because it is the type of a therapeutic mishap. So the short note if has come, then you have to write three types of the therapeutic misadventure: the therapeutic misadventure of treatment, therapeutic misadventure of a diagnostic procedure, therapeutic misadventure of a experimental study. Then due to medical maloccurrence. Medical maloccurrence is more or less same that of the therapeutic misadventure of a treatment. So I have already explained, one drug given to a different patient's body response is different. So the in some patient there may be adverse reaction, in some patient no adverse reaction, or in some patient there may be the mild adverse reaction. So that is known as a medical maloccurrence. So that is the one of the depends. Res judicata. Again, my favorite Viva question. What is res judicata? There is res ipsa loquitur. Second, res ipsa loquitur is the thing speaks for itself. While res judicata, that the doctor has done the negligence and he has tried in one court and he has punished for that, and he has his punishment is over. If one case has tried in a one court and the verdict has given, that case cannot be tried in another court. That is known as res judicata. So already that case has been the trial and the punishment is given, then again that case cannot be so. So that is the res judicata. Due to unavoidable risk. So there are many, I was told that there are many procedure, operations, in that there is some risk. So that damage to the patient has occurred not due to the negligence act, but it is due to the unavoidable risk of that operation or that procedure. Then doctor has explained there are three types of the patient. For example, there are three types of the, and which is good according to doctor has advised, but you have to take informed consent. So in that, doctor has insisted that that treatment has been given, but you have already explained that with that treatment there is the risk of that mishap, but patient has insisted that do that, and if that mishaps occur, then doctor is not negligent. So that is the another defense. Time limit, that the always patient should lodge the complaint against the doctor within 2 years. If it is more than 2 years, then the court does not entertain that complaint. So these are the different defenses of the doctor. Then these are what is the other iatrogenic diseases or conditions with which damage to the patient can occur. These are medical maloccurrence, therapeutic misadventure, corporate negligence, calculated risk. We have already seen the medical maloccurrence, already seen what is therapeutic misadventure. There are three types, that is therapeutic misadventure of treatment, therapeutic misadventure of diagnostic procedure, and therapeutic misadventure of the experimental studies. Therapeutic misadventure of treatment and medical maloccurrence is more or say. Corporate negligence means the big hospital like there is Aditya Birla Hospital or other Okars Hospital. So it is the big hospital. There are the different levels that the negligence has occurred due to the administration loopholes, negligence has been occurred due to the nurse, negligence occurred due to the intern, negligence occurred due to the surgeon. So there are different things. And if the all are negligent, that is known as the corporate negligence. So there are the different level individuals are involved in the negligence. That negligence is known as a corporate negligence. Calculated risk, I already told that the each drug, each treatment, each procedure has some adverse effect, and with that adverse effect is the calculated risk of that treatment, that procedure or that operation. Doctrine of a common knowledge. There is one, that is vicarious responsibility. Vicarious responsibility is the respondent is the superior. So the superior is responsible for that. For example, after finishing your 4.5 years, you will get a provisional registration certificate and you are doing the internship. Some mishap has been occurred due to the intern. So that mishap is, intern is not responsible for that. So medical superintendent is responsible. So any negligent act done by a intern, who is responsible? Responsibility is of a medical superintendent, not of that intern. So that is known as a vicarious responsibility. But for a vicarious responsibility, there is one exception, that is known as a doctrine of a common knowledge. What is doctrine of a common knowledge? That if a patient of a diarrhea comes, what is common knowledge? Common knowledge is that he is suffering from a dehydration and you have to put a IV fluids and increase the fluid balance. So that is no need. That is the common sense. So for this act, if your dehydration patient has come and you are not putting IV lines, the medical superintendent is not responsible. The intern is responsible for that. Same thing, when you are giving any injection, then is the common knowledge that you have to rub that part of a skin with a spirit. If you are not rubbed and if you have given the injection, after 10 days patient came with abscess, then medical superintendent is not responsible. That intern is responsible for that and is known as a doctrine of a common knowledge. I will revise. There are other iatrogenic conditions, that is novus actor intervenus, duties of patient, contributory negligence, products liability, and we have seen about the vicarious responsibility. But time is less. I will take it in a next lecture. So in a today's lecture, we have seen about the definition of a forensic medicine, definition of a negligence. Am I audible? So remaining part we will see. So we have seen iatrogenic diseases or condition, in that medical maloccurrence, therapeutic misadventure, corporate negligence, calculated risk, and doctrine of common knowledge. There is one word known as novus actor intervenus. In this, what happens? The doctor has given treatment to any disease or injury, and with that treatment, there is the further damage to the patient. If the doctor has not given the treatment in a natural course, that injury may get healed. But due to the intervention of a doctor, there is the damage to the patient. That is known as a novus actus intervenens. This novus actus intervenens, again, viva question. What? That with a treatment or with the intervention of a doctor, there is damage to the patient. If doctor may have not intervened, then that patient may get recovered with a natural course of a disease or an injury. So that is novus actor intervention. There are some, it is not a one-way communication. So doctor has to who act according to reasonable care and skill, but patient also has to do his duties. What are the duties of the patient? In a history, the patient should tell all the things, all whatever the diseases he is suffering, what operation, that is past history, current history, all these should be told to the doctor. If he has something he has not told, then it's not responsibility of the doctor. So the doctor is not held responsible. So the first, the patient must tell all the, that is one of the prior must duty of a patient, that he should tell all the things or give a proper history. Second, patient should act according to the prescription or according to the advice. He has to take the drug. He has to do or follow some dietary restrictions. He has to follow some exercise protocol. All these things, the duty that the patient has to follow, whatever the instructions given by a doctor. So these are the important duties. Third thing, without the information, the patient should not go to the third doctor and take another treatment. Then the original doctor is not responsible. So there are the duties of the patient also. It is not a one-way traffic, that there should be the proper synergy of a doctor and the patient. So the patient has to follow all the instructions given by a doctor. Contributory negligence is that the doctor is also negligent and some part of the patient is also. So the both are negligent. That is known as a contributory negligence. There is two things in that Viva question. What is last clear chance of doctrine? Last clear chance of doctrine, that during the examination, doctor knows that there is some damage occurred due to the act of a patient, but doctor has time to give the treatment and recover that damage. But knowing that damage and doctor is not giving treatment to that damage, then this last clear chance of a doctrine, doctor cannot take the advantage of this defense. So what is contributory negligence? Contributory negligence is that doctor is also responsible as well as patient is also responsible. And there is one word known as a last clear chance of doctrine. Here in a last clear chance of doctrine, the doctor gets information during his medical examination that some damage has occurred due to the act of a patient. But as a doctor, as a noble profession, he has to give treatment or he has to advise something for that damage. And if he has not given treatment to that damage, then doctor cannot take advantage of this last clear chance of doctrine. So that is the contributory negligence. Then next is the products liability. Products liability, that is some instrument that produced by industry, and that the instrument or is faulty. Then it is not the negligence of a doctor, but it is due to the product. Product is faulty. That's why the damage has occurred to the patient. So doctor is not negligent. Then it is due to that company who has made that product, that company is responsible. And vicarious responsibility, I have already told what is vicarious responsibility. Vicarious responsibility is that the superior responsible for the act of a doctor. Superior is responsible for the act of his subordinate. Example, that internship, intern is not responsible for his act, but medical superintendent is responsible for his act. But there are exceptions known as doctrine of common knowledge. I have given the explanation that if a dehydrated patient comes, if the common knowledge that you have to give IV fluid, and if that intern is not given that, then the medical superintendent is not responsible, but that intern is responsible because it's the common sense and it comes under doctrine of a common knowledge. Second example I have given, that is before giving any injection, you have to apply a spirit on that part of the skin, and after that only you have to give the injection. So it also come under the common sense, that you have to sterilize that area or make antiseptic that area, and after that you have to give the injection. If the intern has not done that, he is responsible, not a medical supervisor. So these are the defenses of a doctor, and these are the iatrogenic conditions which causes the damage, and that can be taken, or here the doctor can give the evidence of all this, and he can be he can take it one of the defense. So what are these defense? These are the medical maloccurrence, therapeutic misadventure, corporate negligence, calculated risk, doctrine of common knowledge, novus actor intervenus, duties of patient, contributory negligence, products liability, vicarious responsibility. Have understood all these concepts? All these are the new words, but examiners are more fond of to ask all these: what is novus actor intervenus, what is vicarious responsibility. So I request all of you that you read today only whatever I have taught, then your concepts will get clear. Is it clear? Can I proceed? So,
Yes, sir.
to avoid this negligence, what are the precautionary steps that registered medical practitioner should take? So what is this? First is RMP must not guarantee cure. So it is science. He will try as per his scientific medical knowledge and skill to relieve the pain or to treat the patient, but he should not give guarantee that 100% you will get cured. But in a scientific manner, that he should explain the patient that I will try to give you treatment according to my knowledge and skill, and after that only, according to my knowledge and skill, and if it works, it's good, but if it does not work, I cannot give you 100% cure. Like that, you should have a good communication with the patient. Second, apply reasonable care and skill for the treatment of a patient. So here I already explained that the what court or what the judge